What we've come together to talk about, obviously, this whole weekend, both at the Iowa side and at the Midwest side, is the idea of education. One of the things Brother George is going to talk about is some of the aspects of Iowa education that we're trying to implement. I want to introduce a few concepts before we get to that point, and I'm titling this little portion that Masonic education is the continuing work of a Master Mason. We come together and we talk about education. The point being, education is hard work. We can't just passively adapt or create information for people. You have to work at it. But that's okay, because Masons at heart are workers. We know in Iowa ritual, it's going to be different in your jurisdictions, but in Iowa, we are told that all the classes of workers are known by the peculiar manner in which they wear their apron. Okay? We all become Master Masons, and depending on the jurisdiction, in ours, it is very specific the position the apron is in as a Master Mason, and then we get this caveat, but as speculative Masons, we wear ours in a certain position. If you compare that position, it equals the fellow craft's apron. The bib and the corner position of the fellow craft's apron is what we say as speculative Masons, this is how we wear our apron. The significance. My point would be, it's a reminder to us that we're workers. When the master's apron is given, it says they're masters and overseers of the work. When we give the fellow craft's apron, they labor in the quarries and the forest. We need to work at what we're doing and not just talk about it. Before we talk about education, we have to understand the word education. Here's a few words. If I tell you today you look awful, are you going to like me or are you going to hate me? Today you're not going to think much of me, but the original meaning of the word was full of awe. And we get into these mistranslations. If you look at a Bible passage that talks about the great and awful day of the Lord, it sounds like a bad thing to us, but in the original usage of the word, it was supposed to be, it's going to be this great and awesome day. If you tell your wife, boy, you look fantastic today, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, if you use the original word, it's a bad thing, because fantastic means total of fantasy and having no bearing on reality. Okay? We use the word discrimination as a buzzword these days, and it's a very negative term. But discrimination in its original usage simply meant the ability to discriminate between two things. And it was considered a mark of distinction for discriminating tastes, was the advertisement. If we say that now, discrimination means something very different. My point being, education, we throw the word around, but we misuse it. We talk about education like handing a candidate a piece of paper is education. It is not. It takes more work than that. Education at its base is teaching. But the dilemma is whether we are going to become involved in teaching content or method. In short, are we going to tell people what to think, or are we going to teach them how to think? The great value of Masonry for me is that we are showing men how to process information and how to think. And we get away from the dogma of telling them what they must think. And there's a huge difference between the two. So Masonic education is simply the diminishing of the darkness of ignorance by a process of bringing a man to Masonic light or knowledge. The problem with Masonic light is we use the symbol of the sun. Now, if I go take off all my clothes and lay on the front lawn in the sun, I'm going to get a tan. And that's a passive action. And we sometimes think Masonic education works passively. If we just lay ourselves out naked in the Masonic Lodge, somehow passively we're going to become wise. The sun is a very poor example of Masonic light. I would propose that the classic use of the lamp of knowledge is a better idea, because the lamp of knowledge represents work. Building Masonic knowledge takes effort. We have to prepare the lamp. We need to make sure the lamp is capable of receiving the oil. we have to trim the wick, we have to do all this work so the lamp can bear light. And then we have to be diligent. Just because we've attained some level of light, we've reached the east, we've been a past master, and now we're big shots, you'll lose it if you don't stay diligent. Just because you knew a lot last year doesn't mean you don't have to continue to learn in Masonry. No matter what age a man is, Masonry has something to offer. It takes effort, diligence, and it takes special tools. And I'm going to turn the podium over to Brother George, my mentor in Masonry. He's the one that brought me up. So everything you hate, if I say it wrong, you can blame him because he's the guy that taught me everything.
Thanks, brother. I do appreciate that. Thank you. I always find it interesting that Brother Jeff refers to me as his mentor because I think I learned more from him than he ever learned from me. There's been a big change in my Masonry. In 1980, I became a Mason and Masonic ritual all on the same day, ritualist. I did the first degree working tools for an entered apprentice when I was an entered apprentice. So ritual was Masonry to me. About the time I read this article by Stephen Defoe on reading, writing, and apathy, the rise and fall of Masonic education, my attitude changed. I went from Masonry being ritual to Masonry being far more. Masonry being education of the ritual and even deeper into the meaning of ritual. That got me involved in Masonic education in Iowa and in Nebraska. I'm an education committee for the Grand Lodge in Nebraska as well. This chart kind of shows, this is something Brent Morris would put up, I know that, but I'll show it to you anyway. This chart kind of shows what happened to Masonic education between 1920 and 2000. Categories that Brother Defoe actually used, there were 8 of them. I cut it down for 3 for the ease of purpose. Esoteric symbolism, what do the symbols of Masonry mean? Produced 38.1% of the articles published in periodicals in the 1920s. By 2000, it had dropped down to 3.3%, where fluff and filler, here's Grandmaster so-and-so presenting a 50-year certificate to Brother so-and-so who served 15 years as master of his lodge and can do the Dugars and signs. Okay, that was 1.2% in 1920, and it was 25% in 2000s. Since then, it's gone down. Why? Because of the surge of membership after the Second World War. Masonry in the United States had a 40% increase of membership between 1945 and 1949. On top of that, they increased by another 6% in the decade of the 1950s. What happens, brethren, when your lodges do nothing but initiate, pass, and raise? They have no time to educate. We are now at a point where we're not doing as much initiation, but most of us, me included, know very, very little about Masonic education, much less how to teach what Masonry means to the newer brethren. The Grand Lodge of Iowa has, fortunately, there we go. Grand Lodge of Iowa, fortunately, has put several different opportunities for education on the website for its members. The first one, Iowa Research Lodge number 2, the Masonic Research Network, which is actually a Scottish Rite product, but we'll get to that. The Iowa Academy, the Online Mentors Assistant, the Iowa Academy of Masonic Knowledge, and we are currently working on an optional advanced mentoring and education program that takes a candidate through a prescribed course of mentoring should he choose to take that route. If he doesn't want to take that route, he goes the normal way, which is entered apprentice, fellow craft, master mason, shrine. Okay? Tell me it's not true. Iowa Research Lodge number 2 is created in September 14, 1968. It has about 400 members right now. It's open to all Masons. Initiation fee is $30, and that will bring you 2 free books. Usually the last book we published, which was a book called For the Good of the Craft by a gentleman named John Bizak. Brother John has written several books. I highly recommend that book. I chose it in my year as Master of our Research Lodge number 2. For this publication coming up this year, we're looking at Bob Davis's new book as a possibility for presentation. $30 dues after the initiation fee brings you a new book every year. I do have application forms, and I'd be happy to give those to anybody that want them. This is actually a free website. This was written by John Bizak. He's the education chairman at Lexington Lodge number 1. The Craftsman is a recreation of old articles and publication of new articles that's free. I have cards that have websites on them, but not this one. So if you're interested in looking at this, the website is www.thecraftsman.org. And that is a free site. So it's pretty nice. I just found out about it from John. I told him I'd plug him. By the way, his books are available on Amazon. Just look up Bizak, B-I-Z-Z-A-C-K. Masonic Research Network was created in the Sioux City Scottish Rite on June 2007. It was a direct result of Stephen Defoe's article. We had a young intern in there who was very computer savvy. I read the article. I asked him to look at the article. I said, what do you think? One of the other of us came up with the idea of putting an education website out there. This site is open to all Master Masons. You must register to become a member of the site. You have to tell us what lodge you belong to and what grand jurisdiction, a few other questions, whether or not you want to be contacted by email or you didn't want the membership to know that, etc. And then ask a couple of pretty simple questions that most Master Masons would be able to know right off the bat. That is free. If you go out and apply for membership in here tonight, you'll be approved by tomorrow, because both Jeff and I can approve that. The guy that developed this is a young man named Dan Priestley. He was taken through the lodges in 2003, 4, and he went through a one-day class, and he's now been master of 2 different lodges. And he still works on this site, keeps it up to date all the time. There's 954 members the last time I looked. There's more than that now. They come from 49 states in the Union, 9 provinces in Canada, every English-speaking country in the world, including the Republic of Ireland, Romania, China, Israel, Turkey, from a lot of different places, East Africa, South Africa, West Africa. As long as the lodge or the grand jurisdiction that you say you're in is recognized by the Grand Lodge of Iowa, you can get in. It's a full-featured social networking site, kind of like a Masonic Facebook, except it's not open to the public. You can create your own group of friends. You can make it restricted so that you can approve each friend. If you get a group of friends, if they post their Facebook page, if they post their Twitter account, if they post their LinkedIn account, if you put a post out there in that group, everybody in that group will get it. So, way to eliminate mailing trestle boards, eh? Online Mentors Assistant, 2009, 2010, Grand Lodge under Grandmaster Craig Hummel upgraded the Grand Lodge of Iowa website, and part of that upgrade was the Online Mentoring Assistant. The Online Mentoring Assistant is a combination of the Systematic Enlightenment course, which is part of proficiency for the Grand Lodge of Iowa. The other part of proficiency is the ability to demonstrate the modes of recognition. What the online version does is it combines the Systematic Masonic Enlightenment course with the Passport to Light, which teaches a mentor, at least gives instruction to a mentor, in step-by-step how you should contact your candidate and a little bit about what you should teach them for each of the degrees. Okay? This is passcoded, and it's passcoded. If you want it, you can go in. It'll say passcode required. Click here to access email. And you can email the Grand Lodge of Iowa secretary, who will send you the passcode. if you pick up one of my cards, the passcode's on there. I figure if you guys are here, you're Master Masons. So it is on there. You can take a look at that. One of the good parts, I think, about this site is that it just doesn't go through the first and second section of the first degree, the first section and the ritualistic portions of the second degree, and the first section, second sections of the third degree. It also goes through the lectures. So you can learn through this site generally what the perfect points of entrance are, or why there's a pot of incense as a symbol in the third degree. Or beehive. It's amazing to me how many Master Masons do not know beehive is a symbol of Masonry. Iowa Academy of Masonic Knowledge started under Grand Master Craig Davis, is Grand Secretary now. 2010, 2011, we built the Masonic and Master Scholar programs. The Academy is kind of like a graduate school of Freemasonry. We outline for you certain courses of study. We give you suggested books that you might read, although you don't have to adhere to those books. And we give you suggested outputs from your study. And then we provide you with a mentor that you can return that output to, and if you're satisfactorily completed, you become a Masonic scholar. If you go through the second section, which requires more study, then you're going to become a Master Scholar. I don't have any objection with the fact that we started there beyond the fact that we tried to run before we could walk. So what we did in the next year is we developed for Grand Master Jerry LeVay a course on Masonic symbolism. And this syllabus is exceptionally easy and deceptive. It simply takes every point of your preparation, initiation, passing, and raising on the first section and the second section of each of the degrees, and it asks you to look for what the true symbolism beyond the ritual is on those points. It provides you with 8 electronic books that you can download, including Mackey's Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. It provides you with over 50 articles, PDF, that came out of the Builder, which was the monthly journal of the National Masonic Research Society, which, by the way, was created in Anamosa, Iowa. Right now, we're looking at adding some study notes that were taken by one of the members of the Academy on each of those points, and then posting them on the site so that you can get some guidelines to start the symbolism course as well. It's not passworded, it's free access. Go out to grandlodgeofiowa.com, go to Knowledge Academy, click on Symbolism, and up she's going to come. Last year under Grand Master Hildreth, Jeff and I had nothing to do, so we decided that we were going to put some basic class Masonic instruction out there for the lodge level. And we put 3 programs out there. One of them is simply a description of Masonic etiquette. Why do you salute the master? Why do you not pass between the master and the altar? And it lists just about everything you want to know about Masonic etiquette. There's a glossary of Masonic terms. Guys coming through the lodge don't exactly know what Forever Hail means, so this is an opportunity for them to learn. And then we did a 2-part instruction, which includes a PowerPoint and notes on Masonic hoax. So what was the Morgan incident, and what kind of impact did it have on Masonry? Who is Texler? What are the Illuminati? What kind of connection is it there? Is Albert Pike bad for Masonry or good for Masonry? Which pretty much depends on whether or not you take his wording out of context. What else was I thinking? Dan Brown. Is he bad for Masonry or was he good for Masonry? I think he was both. He got a lot of people interested in becoming Masons, but they got interested in becoming Masons for the wrong reasons in a lot of cases, which makes it even more important that we investigate those petitions. Because we don't want a guy to become a Mason so he can become a Knight Templar and recover the Holy Lands. That's not what Masonic Knights Templar plan to do, guys. Under Grand Master Roseboom, we're developing an optional mentoring program. What the program is designed to do is it's designed to give a new brother time to sit with his mentor or mentors and learn about the degree. We recommend at least 30 days between degrees, where each week there is a meeting with the candidates, the new initiate, the new fellowcraft, the new master mason, with his mentor, or more, hopefully, with every member of the lodge who wants to come. And you go through certain points that are prescribed within the course as to what you need to cover. In Iowa, systematic Masonic enlightenment course is mandatory, modes of recognition is mandatory. So the first meeting requires proficiency in the systematic Masonic enlightenment course and the modes of recognition. The second meeting goes through the course material that have been developed and asks him to look at certain objects or points within that course material so that he can talk to his mentor about that point. Do I understand it? And if I don't understand it, where did I go wrong? Give me more information. Second meeting or third meeting is the same thing. The fourth meeting, which can be scheduled anywhere, it could be first, second, or third, it doesn't matter. But what that is designed to do is to get the brother back into the degree he has just witnessed. And you can do that in two ways. You can visit another lodge with him, and you got to go with him, because he can't go, he doesn't have modes of recognition. Or you can do what we call a lodge of instruction, where we will open on a lodge of instruction, walk through the first degree. The good part about that is the new brother actually becomes the candidate again, but he's not hoodwinked, he's not prepared in any manner, and he is told, if you have a question on any aspect of what's going on this evening, ask us, and we'll give you the answer. And as it turns out, the brethren that are actually doing the lodge of instruction along with a candidate have loads of questions. Because I know I received them this way for a certain reason, and that reason was we always received them that way. Okay? But there is actually several different reasons why you're received on the point of a sharp instrument. For one thing, it's the only point that you come close to torture in Freemasonry. So that impresses upon your mind what violating your vows should feel like if you actually do it. Not will feel like. I'm pretty sure we never cut a throat from ear to ear, but we may have, I don't know. So this is an optional course, as I mentioned. We are releasing this at the Grand Lodge session in September. The Grand Master coming up, Chuck Yates, has approved us time to go in more detail through the course at each of his Grand Master area meetings. We will also schedule 3 meetings, one in each region of the state, to certify Masons to become mentors using this program. Give you a real quick summary. Yes, sir. David.
5 minutes.
Thank you, David, very much. This is David Chobar. He's been a Mason since October 2013, and he has done a heck of a job proofreading the 4 guides that we've developed for this optional mentoring program. Without him, it wouldn't be near the progress it is right now. I lost track of what I was going to say. Okay, any questions? I think I'm going to be done, and I'm going to bring, yes, sir.
You mentioned a gentleman named Albert Sykes and another gentleman named Dan. I didn't get his last name.
John Bizak is the other. Dan Brown, I'm sorry. Dan, the guy that wrote the Da Vinci Code, okay, the lost symbol.
Right.
And any other questions? Then Jeff's going to wrap it up. Yes, sir.
Just very quickly, the research.
Masonic Research Society?
Okay, I'm trying to read this my own handwriting without my glasses on. Researchmasonry.com/network. I think I answered those questions a lot of years ago, and then lost track of the website to return to it. Will I be able to log back in?
When you go log back in, click on Forget Password.
Okay, there is one of those links on
Yes,
there?
and it will send you an email to your email address that will allow you to get back in again. If you've changed your email address,
No, I have not.
okay, then that should work for you just fine.
Thank you.
The wrap-up these education conferences do a really good job, and it's kind of like if I go to Lowe's and I buy you 3 new tools and you put them in a toolbox and you put them in a closet, and next year Craftsman comes out with a really cool new tool and you put it in. Every year we reinvent the tools, guys. The bottom line is we have to start using them and applying them. There are young guys that need this information passed on to us. We need to start implementing programs instead of just creating programs. That is why we are doing so much work with laying out the process of doing it. I end all my presentations, and this is my firm belief, that the future relevance of our Grand and Noble Order is directly dependent on the ability of its votaries to learn and apply to their own lives. This learning, filling ourselves up, patting each other on the back, is not enough. If Masonry is not changing our lives, changing us as men, we don't have the power of attraction that we need to increase the fraternity. Just because we have programs is not enough. Those programs have to change us. And once we apply those lessons to our own life, we have to pass it on to the next generation. And we can't pass it on as a vessel. We're just protecting Freemasonry and handing it off. We need to open it up and experience and be something different, because that speaks more to a new person than the fact that we have 20 programs. So that's our presentation. Thank you for your time.